the guild should evolve in the season, and then how do we break this down into tangible things that we could do, and also how do we really go from today's session to just make season 5 a success for PM Guild. And G-Calswall, what's your, do you have any specific expectations as to what should we, what do you want to have discussed during this hour?
So from yeah, there is, and I'm glad you're making it like an opportunity to just focus on some key areas. Otherwise, it's going to be really easy for me to go off on a tangent for half an hour. So appreciate that. Yeah. That's very strategic. I think for my focus really around season 5 is all around getting an accreditation in some kind of MVP iteration that we can test, we can pilot with the existing community in the PM Guild and maybe improve it as we go forward. Because I think being able, I know our ambitions are in the long term to have like, you know, the same sort of accreditation as a PMP, for example, but an agile focused accreditation around Web3 project management and its subtleties and nuances. I don't feel like we're in a position to do that at all. I feel that what we need to do is utilize the current ecosystems that we can in Web3, such as, you know, like Mint Kudos and things like that. Utilize the skill tree as the basis of, all right, you've completed this part on the skill tree, you've got some testimony to that and some evidence, and basically map a learning journey around that and give that to the existing PM community. Those are my thoughts. Like, I want to know what you think is the better route to go down. Bearing in mind we will still, the inevitability is that hopefully we can get an actual accreditation with a reputable project management. But I just don't know if we can do that in season 5. I might be wrong. But and another thing is we can maybe leverage people like Bankless Academy and do some cross collab there. With some learning content that we can get people, and that could be a good way that we bring people in as well. So it's just all around designing that out, I think, in this season, and having MVP that's been user tested already with the folks here and taking it from there. I think so that would be, in order to focus and not get scope creep and not go off on a tangent this season. That's what I want to get to from season 5, a beta MVP iteration of our accreditation process.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you for kicking that off. And I'm recording too, just so everyone is aware.
Hey, nice.
Yeah, I figure we should save this. I went back and watched the season 5 Plan on a Page, and you know the 3 themes that really stuck out: good vibes, onboarding, and then the BDAO PMing. And I'd say as I've watched the channel these past few weeks or month or so, you can see there's a lot of interest in individuals starting to join. And I think our onboarding, if I was to prioritize, and I want to make sure we have the community prioritize, onboarding feels like we have some gaps, some opportunities of individuals joining. I think we're all jumping in saying, hey, go to PM, start here. We had some discussions with what it means to be an active member versus not. So I think that would be a really big goal this season, is if our onboarding was just rock solid, kind of user tested, and people, you know, individuals felt good coming through, understood how to contribute, what it meant to be an active member, and that would feel really good. And then the good vibes piece is something I think I'd love some help with. Of if you're part of different guilds or different DAOs, you know, what does good vibes feel like? Is that like our kind of engagement scores, or is there some kind of baseline we want to take? And then what are kind of some of our norms? You know, is tipping something we want to get more into? What is actually creating our, you know, the good vibes in the PM Guild feel like? What does good look like? So I think defining that, baselining where we are, and then starting to live into some of those good vibe principles, and then maybe at the end of the season, kind of doing another, again, for lack of a better term, kind of engagement survey of, did we move the needle on the vibes?
Yeah.
So those were the first two that
Cool.
stuck out. The third one that came up was the BDAO PMing, is essentially how do we get a list of approved, like how do we skill up, and Swole, this is where it really ties together. It's how do we have PMs that we can kind of deploy across the DAO, and on top of that, how do we get a list of the active projects so we could create a match and really understand the capacity. But I think that one's going to be a stretch goal for this season, if I really think about where we're at and what we're trying to build from an education and onboarding standpoint.
I agree with it being a stretch goal in terms of having like a compiled list of potential PMs that, you know, have got credible experience that we've identified in this guild, and maybe some other project experience. Does just, you know, just to put it out there, no one's expecting you to be an expert project manager in BDAO, right? Because everyone's always still learning. I'm still learning. I don't even have an agile qualification. I've just got the experience. I've got more Prince 2 background with the actual theory side of things. But I just think it's important that we get the fundamentals correct. And I think you're right, GCal, it's a stretch. It's a stretched objective because it really relies on, I suppose, from our work stream, the learning journeys and an actual route for people who we onboard, skill up, and put that needs to be done. We can still have the idea there, like in principle, can't we? We can still have that scoped out. But in terms of it actually giving a tangible benefit, we won't be able to do that until, from my end, the education learning journeys are just way more streamlined and there's just an easier route. Everything else that I think is stuff that we all kind of take accountability for, right? With the kind of vibe of the guild, I think that's everybody's kind of, we're all accountable for it because it's how we interact with each other, how we engage, and just being open, giving feedback to one another, all those sorts of things. I really like your idea of doing like different temperature checks across the season, just to see the kind of like, we started at this baseline point, how we got in achieving that. I think that's really cool.
So I completely share what both of you are saying. And on top of that, I would like to do a quick zoom out to see whether you resonate with what I'm looking at. For me, one thing that separates a guild from a project is that if you're in a project, ideally you're being paid for your work. We have seen that in the guild, and I'm still to have to send out the coordinate results, and we are somehow using the term compensation sometimes in there, but really a guild is actually mostly a place where you're not getting compensated in money, but rather it is a place where you want to be because you're learning something that you want to learn on. So it's basically like a free university, if you will. And in addition, it helps you to apply those skills somewhere in the respective ecosystem that that guild is implemented. So the reward for me being part of the guild is not that I earn money primarily, but that I learn something, and that ideally I'm able to apply those skills somewhere in Bankless DAO or even somewhere else. Does that, from a broad perspective, make sense to both of you? And is that something you resonate?
It definitely is from my perspective, Renee. I think obviously it's good to identify where people do, using the term, get compensated, i.e. they've worked on a work stream, they've completed Kanban tasks, they've helped facilitate meetings, do Loom recordings, like all of those quality of life stuff for the guild, I think should be compensated through our coordinate rounds that we do. However, you're so right, and I've seen a lot of this discussion going on throughout this guild channel with some disappointed folks. And I think it's important to say, look, if you take the learning that you get and the social capital that you gain, and for me, the big one is the project management community here. there's so many people to lean on for advice and guidance and it might even be in your like full-time occupation if you're a project manager outside of the Web3 space. If you're doing it in your fiat role, there's still so much here that you can thus implement into your full-time role. That's the reward for me. It's as say if I'm a new guy that's just been onboarded, okay, cool. I've done some Twitter stuff. I've helped with some Kanban tasks on some of the work streams. Cool. I've got some bank out of that. That's awesome. I'm going to hit my level 1. But on top of that, it's the learning, it's the advice, the guidance, the social capital. All those things are important. And like you say, Renee, that's the whole point of our guild. It's not to subsidize project managers across the DAO. It's to actually help upskill people. It's a public good service that we're providing.
Yeah, good term. Yeah, public goods. I agree to that. And Jikal, what about you? How does that make sense, or do you have a different view?
No, everything Swole said really resonates with me. I've been, I feel like my brain's been more ignited than ever because of this community. So the kind of the intrinsic reward that I get from being around thought leaders, progressing this practice, and then I'm bringing a lot of these concepts and art of the possible back to my fiat role as we really try to advance the future of work. So I'm getting a lot of reward from that.
Yeah.
I, yeah, I will say, I know in links even put out there, like, do we have some bountyable tasks? And I think that, I'm not as familiar with bounties as I'm still cutting my teeth in this Web3 kind of DAO world. But do we have some routine things that we could bounty? I'd love to hear your perspectives on that. But I'm not here for the compensation. That it's really the community that has excited me.
Okay, that's great. And I'm actually taking a few notes in parallel, even though, Jikal, you're recording, and I fully agree we should look at the bountyable tasks, and maybe the logic is that the basic framework of the guild, that's what should be compensated. Recording sessions, keeping up Notion, like anything that's not really helping the person to learn, that maybe we should just formulate the will that this is part of our budget in a season, and then we should also allow to think how much that budget should be. But other than that, it's great that if you to resonate with this, then my personal view is we should think about what is it that people get as an intrinsic reward that makes them stick. And for some of it, like Jikal, you said it just now, you feel that just talking to the people in the guild and being like, what can you say,
Cross-pollination,
pollinated by this, this helps you a lot and expands your mind. And I'm wondering, is this, if you look at it from the perspective of a product that needs to serve a customer, what's the need of our customers? So what are the people that are joining PM Guild, and do they feel as inspired and as intrinsically motivated by our weekly meetings? Or is there something else for other people that want to join the guild that just plain want to get like a course of 5 sessions that allows them in the end to signal to someone that they are project management skilled or whatever? So my feeling is we are not entirely clear as to what are the archetypes of our customers, or what are the archetypes of the PM Guild members, and then what is the reward that we give them? Is it like an education stream? Is it like twice a week thought leadership sessions, or is it both? And then if yes, do we have to install both?
I think those are really good questions, and I think we could certainly make ground on going out, and it's kind of with GCal's temperature check that he said earlier, we could include that. So, why are you here in the guild? What is your expected outcome from season 5 for you personally, right? The individual, are you seeking to upskill? are you seeking to actually give back to the community? Like you're an experienced project manager, you'd like to run some thought sessions, some workshops, like just getting an understanding. It helps us know people a bit more intimately, I think, across the guild as well. Instead of just Discord profile pictures and names, like, you know, we've got people's wants and needs. I think definitely I like the whole flipping it on its head and looking at the guild as a product, because at the end of the day, we're here to serve. We're not a project. We haven't got a tangible product that we're getting funded for. It's like we're here to provide education, talent, and etc. 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 We need to make sure that all of those things that you just spoke about really are like packaged up. So you're going to have people that want to be compensated because they're providing quality of life work around the guild, you know, keeping on top of Notion, doing some of the Kanban, the bountyable tasks, which I'm sure there are some in mind already from the Kanban board that anyone could probably pick up and do. Or that these people coming in and they want to just learn. You know, sometimes you would have to pay for a course to get that same level of information from all the people here. And I just want to also say one thing in terms of, you know, the social capital stuff. Like I found Bankless DAO back in October. I joined and found myself in the PM working group. Obviously, loads has changed. We're a guild now, and there's loads of new faces, and a lot of old faces have left. But for me, that reignited the fire and passion for project management, because I'd become so disillusioned in my current role as a program performance officer. And yeah, it sparked a lot of fire back in there. And as a result, you know, I'm in a couple of different DAOs now providing project management or product management to some varying levels. And I'm full-time in crypto through my fiat company, and that's all project management. So there's definitely that cross-pollination that you both picked up on, and, you know, bringing it back into your full-time occupation as well.
Well, that's an amazing story, and I'm so happy for you that you've been able to achieve that. And I agree. I remember my first meeting, the first like live session I was able to show up to was the one where Justice did the overview on metrics, and my mind was blown, because I'm like, I'm not seeing this kind of thought leadership and these kind of talks at like trainings I'm paying for, or at my fiat job. And here in this little like pocket of the Web3 internet on Discord, I'm watching one of the best talks on using data I've ever seen in my life. That's
that presentation specifically like blew my mind. There were so many takeaways for me from that data-driven agility presentation and workshop that Justice did, that I was like, wow, there's so much value in my full-time role with this. And, you know, it just pays dividends for the improvements that you can make as a team. And yeah, you're right. You're not going to just pick that up like a generic project management workshop. You know, that is some very gigabrain deep diving stuff there that can be hard for someone like me to digest, but I managed to pick it up. I've got a short attention span, so that doesn't help. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, so how can we create more of that? And it doesn't have to be every week, but maybe we have something on the calendar where it's like, come, you know, and you will know in advance what the topic is going to be, but you're going to see something that is next level. You're not having to pay for it. You're going to get to engage with the community. That person's going to be accessible if you have questions. Like, that's a product. And what after I saw that, I'm like, I'm in. I'm here.
In season 5, I definitely want more of that from the education workstream. I suppose what is needed for that to become a reality is people to deliver said workshops like Justice did, and, you know, maybe us getting some information and feedback from the community here. Like, what are you guys really keen in learning? And if we can get like the most popular things, like the first couple of workshops, then I think that's easy to schedule in, and that's something that could be recurring. We could get like 2-3 workshops a month or something for different time zones. because all of us won't always have to attend. It will just be a workshop that someone can deliver. Like, I'm happy to do one of retrospectives. I'm not an expert, but definitely come on leaps and bounds doing them since I joined Bankless. We did them very differently in my previous role, and they actually, looking back and reflecting on it, had little meaning and little benefit. But yeah, I think it's just getting those people who are willing to do that, who aren't shy. That's the only blocker, and I'm not saying it's a blocker in a negative sense, but that's the challenge. It's like, can we identify those people? Are they happy to put their hands up? And we can start scheduling a program of like learning workshops throughout the season. That's something, as soon as you've got those people identified, that's the whole process of that is super easy. It just becomes a scheduling process after that, right? So,
Sure.
and one thing, and I'll shut up. After we've done a couple, I think what would be a really cool idea is to try and do it in the open. And what I mean by that is we could look at doing something more, not just for people in PM Guild, but do something maybe in like one of the main channels to entice people. Because you might have people this whole time who are project managers that still have not thought of joining a PM Guild. Or have a misunderstanding of what it's even here for. And I think if we were to deliver one of those workshops, I'm sure people across BDAO will take note and be like, wow, okay, there's a lot of quality information, a lot of learning, a lot of expertise, thought leadership there. Like, oh, I'm going to join. There might be some really key takeaways for me. And I think that also helps us in aligning to some of our long-term ambitions of, ensuring the successful delivery of and sustainability of projects in DAO. I think that's one of our internal facing long-term ambitions. I don't know if that's changed. I need to go look at the plan page. But I think that helps align to that aspect because we're not doing it in a silo. We're doing it out in the open. Those are just my thoughts.
Okay. Mikhail, did you finish your last thought when you were talking about how this thing
I thought Swole's follow-up was great, and especially when he mentioned retrospectives, because I think that's what we heard probably the most demand for is how do I learn how to do a retro? So if we can start to set up some of those learning sessions, and then that provides opportunity across the DAO to earn some bank. There'll be different projects or guilds that are looking for retros. They can get the skills and that value that heck they could take back to their fiat job, and then they can also apply across BDAO and maybe even in other DAOs. So I'm all in agreement.
Cool. One thing that I've found challenging is the nature of the guild in season 4 kind of got into two different directions that I'm not 100% able to reconcile as per this moment. And let's see if you can help me on this. Because when we started the guild / project management working group, then it was basically a meeting of people who are very interested in project management and also very skilled in project management, and they were looking for some place to share their thoughts and optimize project management in the DAO. But now I can also see a lot of people joining the guild that just want to learn how to be a project manager. And they obviously have completely different needs. So we can show them how to run a retrospective, but even after you run a retrospective and you have a presentation of data-driven agility, that's nowhere near what is a project manager actually and how. So people dropping out of university or even from college and want to learn something. Do you think we should focus on either of those two natures? Or should we cater for both? Or should we actually make the guild exclusive for either of those two?
See pros and cons. So I don't think both of those points, both of those kind of directions are mutually exclusive from one another. However, yeah, at what point are we just at what point are we another learning platform? And if people are only say if people are externally coming in here, and I'm not against this, by the way. I think I shielded this in the Modern Agilist podcast about PM Guild being this sort of home for it. But if we've only got people coming here to just further their project management learning, and then that's not going back into the DAO, and that's a value add, isn't it? If people are picking up skills that are impacting positively on other projects in a DAO, then that's our way that we're adding value. If they're coming in and they're just learning, all good, because that's great. We're clearly doing something right. However, what does that person then do with it? And that's something I think we need to definitely mind. I get. Yeah. At what point, are we charging like a minimum? And by the way, I'm not expecting that in this season, because we haven't got the product to even like justify charging someone money for. We're very much just building it at the moment, right? So when we get to a point where we've got a very packaged education product, so to speak, when are we charging external third parties? Like those folks from Aragon the other month, sorry. Like, that was a really good opportunity. If you fast forward like a season or two, that sort of thing's a good opportunity to bring revenue into the guild and Bankless as a whole. Just I think. Sorry, René, I'll be quiet in a sec. I just don't think we can justify doing that right now. Not in the beginning of season 5 is my only concern.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree, Swole, that I think they're not mutually exclusive. And as I think about our short-term and long-term roadmaps, like that'd be pretty darn cool to be the hub for. And that it excites me around these different kind of on-chain reputation or accreditations that we're exploring. If we become a learning hub for PMs in the Web3 space, and they're carrying that credentialing with them, that we could become the mecca for that's just really exciting to be like to think like that's possible, that we could be creating that kind of thought leadership right now. But I agree there's a lot that we've got to get into place, and I think providing the opportunity to get some, like you had said, we run the retro workshop, you watch it, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can do it. So how do we help individuals on ramp and kind of sense into actually doing that and using that versus just getting the certification or just getting the accreditation, really having the tangible experience and to do it.
If that's okay, I would really like to take 2-3 minutes to branch off real quick, and I am going to help us back to the stem. But one thing that works perfectly or is connected perfectly to this is a few thoughts that I recently had on like the overall strategy on Bankless DAO, and I haven't put this together because I obviously have other priorities at the moment. But I'm wondering if in the long run, Bankless DAO strategy could be like a Web3 university. And it's actually a more practical university where you're it was the same for me, and it probably is the same for you. I was joining Bankless now, and this is the way I learned my ropes around in Web3. And maybe this is really the way how people, especially young people, can, or of course people who just want to tap into Web3, can learn Web3 in a project on the fly and in a guild, depending on their interest. And this way we have a new question as to what projects should we fund, etc., because then it's actually just always the question of how do we make sure that this university stays afloat. It doesn't have to make a lot of money. It doesn't have to be shareholder value driven, etc., but rather the question is this university still serving the need of educating people? And that could be in onboarding on crypto. And I believe why I said this is just because what we are just discussing is the microcosmos of this for PMs.
Yeah, well said.
So thanks thanks for bouncing a few ideas on the overall purpose of the guild. And I'm wondering if we condense that again to what could we do in season 5. My proposal would be that we assume that the general archetype of a person that is in the PM guild has some kind of project management experience, or at least project management knowledge. And if they don't have it, then they're able to Google whatever is needed to get like basic knowledge. But rather we want to help people to upskill, not to like basic skill, because I felt the presentation of justice was exactly what caters for most people who have some level of project management and agile project management experience, but they're looking for something that reignites passion, that drives their emotions, that makes them want to come back to the guild. Is that something that you could also agree on for the coming season, or do you think it's making it too narrow? Do you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I hit. Sorry, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I don't think I've got an answer to that.
As I'm thinking as well. Apologize. As I think about it from where we started at the beginning around kind of the good vibes and the onboarding, if that does become part of the flow, because right now it's kind of like show up. Do I start doing some tasks? Do I come to the weeklies, or is there really a desire to start learning? So if we are to start to do some of these and have some focus on it, and one being able to have the opportunity, and as Swole said, kind of the scheduling to have the sessions of here's when those thought leadership sessions are going to be. But then on top of it, we also have the archive. So someone new coming in and is like, oh wow, look at this library of the sessions that have been run here, and maybe hasn't attended a live one yet, is going to give them a really good feel for, as you said, if that's the archetype showing up. For my archetype, I would have already blown through the library if it existed. So I don't know if that helps or answers your question, but I think I'm saying yes, I resonate with that.
I understand. For me, this makes perfect sense. The only thing what that means is, if a person comes to the guild with the expectation of, hey, I'm new here and I want to learn project management, and what is our answer to these people? Is it like, this is not the right place for you? Or we suggest these are, and that's part maybe of the onboarding GCal, these are following web resources that we believe you should have a look at those YouTube videos, look at those pages, even read books, I don't know. And this is what we believe you have to have understood to join our discussions usefully, else we are always starting from like scratch. So what is actually Scrum? Or it happens, because that's what I realized a few weeks or maybe even months ago when I was doing a session of Scrum basics, that many people who listened to this, they were like introduced to a concept that would have needed like a whole weekend, not just a 1 hour session, because it's completely new to them what agile sprints, etc., etc. is. So yeah. Therefore, I think one part of our onboarding, if we all go with this, and we don't have to decide this here, because I think the community should agree on this on Friday, but if we have consensus on this, then I believe a part of the onboarding could be to help people that really have no clue of project management to find places to skill themselves up to a level that makes them able to follow thoughts and discussions in the guild. I was wondering if this results in any like resistance in your brains.
I'm interested, Swole, from an education standpoint. I'm really interested in your take on this one.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can now.
Let's say, don't know what's happening. I haven't even got green bars on my voice connected. Can you repeat that for me, please?
Yeah.
I don't know.
For sure.
Am I coming through like a robot, or am I clear?
Oh, now you're clear. Maybe you were breaking off earlier when you talked. And yeah, I'm going to quickly.
Apologies for making you backpedal.
No worries. So basically, I was thinking that if we three agree and then we could get consensus from the community on Friday that people who are completely new to project management need to upskill themselves a little bit through web resources, YouTube videos, or anything like that, then before they can start really join our discussions, or before we will require a certain level of knowledge about project management. So we don't start from scratch in discussions, because it's really difficult to talk about, like I said, Scrum and the specifics of Scrum in Web3 if someone never heard anything about Scrum.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point.
So I'm thinking, should we include into our onboarding process that GCal wants to tackle and make it more rock solid, just something like these are our curated web resources that you should have a look at, because we will require you to at least have a certain level of knowledge about these topics to join our discussions and really participate. It's not like an exclusivity thing, but rather a making sure that everyone has a certain baseline of knowledge.
I actually think that's a great idea. And do you know what? I think that ties in well to, what tasks are bountyable. Because Ray, and I know he's here, so I'm going to throw him under the bus now. Ray did a good job of starting this kind of curation of learning material that people can just in their own time go click into and access, and we've got that on Notion. So that definitely begs the question: can we? So I got 2 points because now my brain's firing. So with the onboarding, can we, as a guild, can we have our own bot? I don't mean a bank like a PM guild bot, but I mean, can we use bots exclusive for this guild? I.e., someone gets a kind of like the first quest sort of thing. They get a similar thing in PM guild where they go through like a couple of different learning resources through their onboarding and other bits and pieces that GCal would want to see in there. And then it kind of like opens up. So we're not having to manually do that ourselves as like an exercise. It's like that's autonomous, and I think that follows suit in what we're trying to achieve in Web3 for starters, making things more autonomous and async. So this is a question maybe for ops, and maybe someone in this call would like to do that, or GCal, if you want to just run that anyway, then by all means. But how can we have a bot that when someone joins the guild, grabs the PM tag, they have to do X, Y, and Z, like first quest, and within that contains different onboarding pieces, quality of life stuff, here's our Notion, blah, blah, blah. And then some kind of like, what is agile? The very basic fundamentals, right? What's agile? What is Scrum? And depending on where someone lands there, then that will help us make a decision, potentially. Kind of lost my train of thought as I was talking, which was quite frustrating. I thought I was onto a little nugget of gold there, but I think that's possible. Just need to see if ops would let us. Do you think that would be a good idea?
I'm over here nodding and smiling. I really love where your brain's going with this.
I've had a monster, so the caffeine's hit.
Yeah, great stuff. This is really a good direction we are going, and it also gives me more clarity on what is really our archetype of guild member. let's just see if we can get agreement, consensus on this from the community.
Yeah.
So that's really good, because then I believe there is like one basic question to each of the work streams that we want to answer, right? And the one is, so say for example, you two are part of the archetype and you're coming new to the PM Guild, then you are joining the PM Guild, and ultimately you will have two questions. The first one is, what am I learning here? The other one is, what am I doing with this learning? Do you help me to apply my talent? I believe these are the two questions to the two work streams, and we should just see as to how much can we answer those questions in this season. And I feel, Jikal, when you said onboarding and vibes and BDAO PMing, those three for me look like perfect targets for talent work stream. As well, maybe if we use that baseline that we just discussed, then maybe the education part picks up at the place where onboarding leaves people. That makes sense. I don't know. That's maybe not perfect grammatic, but I hope you're
stop
getting.
Worried about your grammar. I've always understood you fine. You you downplay your grammar, my dude.
Yeah.
No, it does. So people get onboarded just into the guild, so they can learn just about the guild, and then the education part is picked up at that point. So someone's landed in the guild and gone through the onboarding processes, then that's where the education starts. Are they here to learn? Are they here to provide learning? Because we want those people too. And what, silly little things like, what's their preferred tool, method of learning? Are they someone that likes watching a workshop? Do they like just jumping in at the deep end? Are they a reader? Are they a bookworm? That sort of thing. So is that where you was going with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure I'm on the same page.
Well, you said something at the end, and Renee, I was thinking there's a third question that's in my brain that maybe we're just not ready for yet, which is, how am I contributing back to the growth of this community and guild?
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't an answer, and I hate jumping to solutions for like a problem or a challenge. I just
don't do it.
It's just not in my nature. It doesn't follow double diamond principles. However, just something that sparked my brain when we were talking a little bit earlier in this call was the apprentice route that I know ops do, right? So
yeah,
there could be an apprentice route, and I mean, I'm happy to like have some of my like role bank allocation be subsidized into that person's apprentice thing, and just give people the opportunity to do that. So when they've gone through all those learning points and they've achieved X, Y, and Z, they might want to take more of a, I want to now go and help. I want to run workshops myself. Like I'm feeling super confident. And yeah, boom, let's do that. And I'd want to make sure that person gets properly compensated. And I'd be happy for that to come out because it just helps us. That's them, again, adding value back to the DAO. They've learned, then they're giving back to the quality of life of the guild. That person may be in an Australian time zone and can then help onboarding people who struggle to make our weekly calls, right? So yeah, sorry, just sort of verbal diarrhea there, but I think that would be a good route. Maybe not the apprentice. I think that's not the right method, but yeah, just once you've done X, Y, and Z from a learning perspective, if you're feeling confident, then by all means run a workshop. And then we're just creating a very self-sustaining community then, because you'll just have a bunch of people who are like, oh yeah, I want to go do this. And you never know, that might be able to spark some people doing this as a freelance gig in Web3. I mean, that'd be awesome. Just going out and doing, workshops for us or themselves across the Web3 space in various agile methodologies and frameworks, etc. For me, as an individual, take away the role holder that I am, but as an individual, I definitely see that as a positive outcome. for myself. So I'm sure others would feel the same.
I really love the third question too. How can I contribute to this guild? And maybe this is also something when we are looking at vibes and talent. One way of deploying your talents or applying your skills that you learned can be in a BDAO project, but one other way could also be like Swole now offered to run a retro training session. So this is also one way of applying what you learned from the guild, and maybe it's a really good way to be emphasizing this much more, that there is kind of a circle in the guild where people come, they learn, but then they also give back. So it's not just a one-way street. I really like this, and I want to incorporate that also in my language a little bit more. So yeah, so just to make it part of our culture.
Yeah,
that sounds really good. Cool.
I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to shoot in like 5 minutes.
I'm actually starting to do a little wrap up and see. I can see my son starts to scream now, so maybe I need to finish now anyway. But just I thought this session was there to make sure we are aligned on this, and I'm wondering, do you feel you have enough alignment to think about your specific work streams and what you would do to go down that route?
From my perspective, yeah, I think I know what my, like, I don't want to say my, because it feels like it's all on me. I know I'm an accountable role holder, but, you know, whoever wants to get involved in this process, I definitely want you. Yeah, I'm clear on what my priorities for season 5 are and how me and GCal like aligned in a lot of those two. And yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm excited for what season 5 is going to bring for sure. I think what would be good is for this to then be, so this recording, this discussion, this sort of brainstorm and agreement on alignment, etc. We get that on the season 5 Kanban board, and maybe just like a Notion document of some kind, just to kind of make it a bit more targeted and a bit more specific. And then yeah, I think we've got an opportunity there to really start hitting the ground running.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way. This was a really great session. I feel very aligned. I'm excited to work with the entire guild and the two of you and Swole. Yeah, we're gonna have some really nice alignment on the onboarding of where the right places to plug education in are. The brainstorming you did around the bot. So I think we've got a lot we can chew on and make some progress on, and I feel good.
Awesome. Yeah, likewise.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, maybe you can think about helping me to for the Friday session to just give a few lines to the community so they understand what you made out of this session, and I'm going to try the same.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea, and maybe have like for me an outcome that I'd want to get out of Friday session would be people who are actually interested in us turning this education work stream into a reality, because I'm one person, I don't have all the time in the world to do this. I mean, you now, you're a daddy, so I'm currently on my lunch break, so and my time in the evenings are getting shorter and shorter. Sure. I've taken on so much, which is good. This is basic. This is all a product of the Bankless Working Group. I don't say that in a cringy way. I am here and doing all of this stuff outside of my fiat role, and now working for a crypto company for my full time because of the PM Working Group here. So hence why I'm still around and want to give back. Yeah, an outcome for me is definitely getting people to raise your hands. I know, Ray, you definitely helped me out in season 4. So how can I make that more streamlined and give you some actual meaty stuff to like throw your hands in, get your teeth into? All those sorts of things I'd like to get out of Friday session, Renee, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way. I'll get this video uploaded today, and if anyone can do a pre-watch, that'd be great. But I think us hitting hitting it with the TLDR of what we've agreed upon, and then I'll be looking for the same thing. Is a lot of opportunity for anyone who's interested in how do we kind of run a good vibes engagement survey, have some data behind that, and then what are the next steps? What do we want to actually do? And that's got to come from the community. That can't come from me. So I'm excited to engage and see who's excited about these different themes.
Cool. That sounds perfect. Then thank you to both of you. I need to go to the other room. It was great to talk to you. I'm super excited for season 5. Take care.
And all my love to Santiago. Is that how you say his name?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Such a cool name.
Yes.
Take care, guys. Have a lovely. Enjoy the rest of your week. Speak to you Friday.
Thank you very much. Friday. Appreciate it. Congrats again, Renee.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Run.